customer to be loyal to you? How do you have those sticky fingers of customers to your website? And they cracked it in many ways. Amazon Prime Days, Amazon Prime as a video channel, on demand video channel, or the various things they do. Now, Prime Music is there, and so many other things. So they have also cracked the code, but there would have been a lot of creativity involved and, of course, innovation to make it happen. So while we see the customer as the prime driver of innovation and creativity for the organization, but we see that simple innovations or simple creativity doesn't work. It takes a very high level of innovation and creativity to actually hold on to your customers, to delight your customers and make things happen. Now, this changing facet of the complexity and the level of creativity and innovation, what kind of challenges are these creating for organizations? Let's focus a bit on the troubles, on the problems that organizations are now facing, the challenges that they are facing to catch up and to keep up with this growing demand of the customer side of creativity and innovation. So let's begin with you, Prashant.
Sure, thank you, Aman. So let's start with a basic concept of change, right? Change is always painful, right? Whether it's a small change, incremental change, major change, change is always painful. Having said that, but without change, there is no progress, right? So there is bound to be some resistance because behind every resistance, there's a fear that change will affect the way you live and work. For an example, when India started computerization early in the early 1980s, there were widespread demonstrations and strikes, which had to be put down with an iron hand. So the strikers were worried that computers will take away their jobs and they will be left without a home or a hearth. But that did not happen, right? Computerization created new jobs, new avenues for growth. But that is thinking in from hindsight. Given the AI revolution, given the way conversational AI is taking over the world, at least with respect to how content is generated and managed today, there is bound to be resistance. And within an organization as well, employees will resist certain changes. And in addition to that, organizations will also find it very difficult to get skilled resources. When I say skilled resources, we're not talking about developers or coders. We're also talking about people who are in the front line, who are able to use AI to their advantage. Having said that, one major issue that we find not just in India but the world across is that the education system is not really geared up towards the paradigm shifts that we are seeing today. We are still looking at education as more of information gathering, information analysis, but not really leveraging applications and technology to do our job in a much more productive and much more efficient manner. So I think organizations will face resource crunch going forward, and to a great degree, a lot of resistance, not just from its own internal ecosystem stakeholders, but also its partner ecosystem stakeholders.
Thank you, Prashant. Very pertinent challenges pointed out, and organizations will have to figure out ways to meet those challenges. I guess as future leaders, individuals will be responsible for figuring how to go about that. Well, with that, I hand over the virtual mic to Radharaman. Your perspective.
Yeah, well, Hemant, I think the issue lies at top, right? If you look at the vision and mission statement of most of the Fortune 500 company, or for that matter, any company, right? How many of them you really find innovation and creativity as a part of the vision and mission? Maybe
True.
seldom, right? The reason is I mean, most of us as a human being are tied up in the top line and bottom line across the organization, and the entire organization is driven toward that top line bottom line, right? We don't really realize that there will be a startup tomorrow which might disrupt a $5 billion company overnight because of their innovation and creativity, right? So the real issue lies in the fact that we have to have a vision, goal, outcome strategy at the top in terms of what we as an organization is trying to do. I'm not saying don't focus on top and bottom line, but have a portion of your business strategy towards innovation and creativity, right? That's where the entire issue lies. The second point, this we have to shift from the traditional mindset of process improvement, process reengineering, and all those kaizen and Toyota principle, right? I think that's the 50-year-old strategy, right? We have to start thinking about a disruptive move, right? When I say disruptive move, right, when you think about process reengineering, you say, okay, you are at state A, you want to go to B, then C and D. But now you have got the kind of tool in place where from A you can directly travel to B, or to D, E, or maybe some other part. And that kind of culture mindset is very, very important for organization to cultivate as a part of that, right? The third point, which I believe is very, very essential, is there used to be a time where people used to think in organization that you have to continuously get a technical skill and learn only until you are a manager, senior manager, GM. And after that, it's more about stakeholder management and you have to go to CXO level. I don't think that holds true in the current era, right? Now, this continuous learning is not just for the bottom of the pyramid. It is equally important for the top of the pyramid. In fact, it is more painful for the top of the pyramid because you are not used to of the technology which current or current customer and your competitor are using it. And yes, people are thinking about disruption and kind of fear about it might take away your job and all that part. But I don't think that's a real issue, right? Normal human being, as per scientific research, we use to do 3% of our brain. Apparently, Albert Einstein have used only 5% of his brain. So, which means since we are currently slogging for the business process in a way that we are not able to think beyond the boundaries of what we could do when this innovation creativity would start cultivating. So maybe the world will be a different place after 10 years, right? Organization businesses would have maybe 10x potential of what they are thinking now. So I think these are the key real issue which we have in the organization to be able to really get to that level.
Fantastic, fantastic. Rightly said. I would agree on the points where you said that organizations, uh, as a whole, from top to bottom, will have to become learning organizations. Each individual will also be responsible for their own learning, besides being driven by the organization. So, fantastic point. Sarendra, over to you now.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, a lot of innovation, technical innovations are driven through, of course, customer, end user, and there are certain policy-driven norms as well. One of the example, being an automobile guy, I would like to take up that the emission norms are being more stringent due to the global warming. And we have this diesel and petrol engine history, IC engine history, 100-year-old. And now you see a lot of new technologies, electrification, fuel cell, hydrogen engine coming into the picture. Now, so many things that organization has to plan. First of all, which area to enter, because certainly after 2030, you would see the quite decrease in this diesel and petrol engines, and people will go around these three areas. So one challenge is certainly where to put more effort, in which technology. Then product is completely new. That's a big challenge. So your design, product design, analysis, validation, verification, everything will change. Even the capability in the organization, that has to change. That becomes an challenge. Like how do you train more and more people to adopt these changes, right? And if you think on a broader level, the whole supply chain industry would change, the whole manufacturing would change. And to take an example, You have so many petrol pumps where you get a petrol, diesel, and some of them are CNG. But if you move to these technologies, then hydrogen being a fuel has a lot of safety concern. So as the number of vehicles from these technologies are going to increase and diesel and petrol going to down, you would need the similar changes into the fueling stations. So it's like a whole worldwide changes, right? Driving the whole world. And then service in the I would say service industries, basically servicing of a vehicle, that would again change. So you would see the not just the changes for organization, but you would see the changes for whole country and in turns the world.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a very interesting perspective of the innovation, the way it manifests in real life. Because you want to bring an innovation, and there needs to be infrastructure, there needs to be changes made to the world the way we know it today for that innovation to go ahead.